Right, so Bill Kreutinger, KM6SLF, who hails from Southern California. As I mentioned, he and I met at DEF CON this year, and he was telling me all about the AREDN network. And it's something we really need to build out here in the Denver metro area. We have one node that I know of, which is way up in Greeley. And he'll go through it all and why we need it. But it's just an incredible mesh network, highly resilient. You can pass data over it, video, phone, email, you name it. And it's all done with kind of relatively off-the-shelf equipment. So with that, Bill, it's all yours.
All right, thank you, Mark. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, super. So AREDN, as you can see there, stands for the Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. When someone says AREDN, it can mean the nonprofit 501c3 foundation that manages the firmware and the kind of operational aspects of it. It can mean the firmware, it can mean the network. Kind of depends on the context in which it's used. I'm going to use it in basically every context as we go through the presentation, and I think you'll be able to intuit which I mean, but if you ever have questions, stop me. We should have time at the end of this, too, for a very interactive presentation and questions. If you have a laptop with you, boot it up in a little bit. You'll see an AREDN demo Wi-Fi access point you can connect to. You can also connect to it from your phone. But with no further ado, we'll get started. So, what is AREDN, right? It's, if you remember the internet in the mid-90s, that's kind of what AREDN is, with a few spots where it's more modern. And what that means is, and shitification hasn't happened yet. For those of you that are familiar with the term, okay? There's no tracking cookies, there's no nonsense, it just works. And it's kind of all business, but by that I mean ham radio business, which is not legally not business, right? We do have to adhere to the FCC's rules on what's on there. But yeah, it's exactly what an internet is. It's an interconnected network of computers and routers that share data and host services. That's a long one. I don't usually read from slides, but I will read from this one. AREDN is customized OpenWRT firmware that runs on household routers and wireless internet service provider equipment. It uses standard TCP/IP protocols, just like the World Wide Web. Supports HTML, PHP, CSS, and other programming languages commonly used on the internet. And it can be connected to by any device that connects to the internet by Ethernet or Wi-Fi. And if that's too technical, don't worry. It's also fun. So I'll tell you how I got into AREDN, right? I got my amateur radio license several years ago. I studied for technician in general and a little bit for extra. Took all three, passed the first two. I got a good deal on a Yaesu 857D and tried my hand at HF. Got really frustrated with it because I live in a place with a high noise floor and I got a HOA, so antennas are challenging. But anyway, got tired of that, so I went with the smallest wavelengths I could reasonably manage, and that was microwave. And that's AREDN. Here are the kind of the frequency bands we can use, right? For 900 megahertz, there's a handful of devices out now that AREDN supports. There's not a lot of this. I keep this in the back of your mind if you want to do AREDN, but you really want to focus on 2.4 and 5.8, which is on the next chart. 3.4, we are secondary on these, and the FCC already, I think, might have taken some of these away. I don't know if that's updated since they chopped off half of our allowed range in 3.4. Yep, there's 5.8. Lots of channels in 5.8 that we can use. But what I really want to point out to you guys is this little section here. Right? If you ever look at your Wi-Fi router, you've got access to a handful of channels. If you're a licensed ham and you're using AREDN firmware in the United States, you can access channel -2. And since we usually operate AREDN on non-standard channel widths of 10 megahertz, that means we have an exclusive use channel on 2.4 gigahertz. And that's really exciting. Okay? What that means is with AREDN, the same Wi-Fi that you might have in your living room and not at the end of your driveway, we can, with a dish and with a narrower channel width, we can send that signal over 20 miles, and we do it every day. So I'm sure you all remember the game of telephone, right, where somebody tells somebody something, and it's passed along, and inevitably the message gets distorted. Voice over radio will always have a role in emergency communications. Push-to-talk is just an irreplaceable technology, but we live in a modern world where sometimes data has to be exchanged quickly, and direct human face-to-face communication, with discounting its many charms, is horrifyingly slow. It's about 50 bytes per second, just regular conversational discussion. So if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a typical cell phone picture is worth about 33 hours of conversation. So bear that in mind, right? If it matters, if accuracy matters, if the volume of data matters, the voice is not the way to go. Since 2015, the AREDN Foundation has been developing firmware to help. And in addition to being an AREDN ambassador, I'm the Chief Radio Officer of Tri-Cities RACES. There's tremendous overlap between AREDN and RACES and ARES organizations. If any RACES group needs help with AREDN, get in touch. I'm happy to help. These are some neat tools that, Mark, you can put these slides up on the website later too, right?
Yep.
Thank you there. This here shows some documented records from the big fires in Maui a few years ago. A lot of municipal systems failed. Some were activated very late. Their AREDN mesh stayed up longer than anything else, and it was the first thing back up after it did go down briefly. When we had the airport fire a couple years ago in Southern California, that fire came so close to some strategically important AREDN equipment on Saddleback Mountain that the plastic enclosures of the equipment melted. But at no point did those nodes go down. And there's cameras up there. The video is gnarly. I mean, holy cow. If you want to see what hell looks like, you can look at those videos. There's some really great tools for building out your networks. UISP Design Center, that's the Ubiquity tool. They have dropped out a list with various Ubiquity devices, and Ubiquity is supported. Many of the devices are supported on the AREDN supported device list. I'll show you that shortly. But yeah, you can model an entire network deployment there. I use it all the time. And if you want to model like a MikroTik device or another supplier device, just pick the Ubiquity one that is most similar, and you can kind of proceed modeling that way. I'll pull some of these up for the next part, where I'm going to, so we're going to the interactive part. I'll pull up those tool sites in a little bit. If you've got a laptop, anybody here on a laptop? I see one. Anybody else? A couple? Okay, well, if you connect to the AREDN demo Wi-Fi access point, the password is AREDN-demo 2024. You can go to this URL. Oh, there's a typo here. I'll correct that in a second. Local node 8080 takes you to a AREDN interface screen. And if you enter this with -pi at the end, so KM6SLF demo-pi .local.mesh, you'll get to a very simple website with links to some digital services. And that's what we're going to jump to now in the Zoom. When you set up an AREDN device, this is the interface that you'll be greeted with once AREDN is installed. You can see here I'm doing mesh on channel -2, and the Wi-Fi access point there on channel 149. This device has 2 radios. If the device you're using has only 1 radio, you'll only see 1 radio. There are on the on 3 of the back tables, very small nodes running off power banks connected to VoIP phones. Those work, and you're welcome to try them out, call them the other phones. We're at this range, you might as well have a cup with string, right? But and you do about as well, but this will work over multiple hops, over long-range links, and what that's great for is a lot of municipal entity phones are already VoIP phones. If internet were to become unavailable, it would be a simple matter of unplugging their phone from where it's plugged in now and plugging it into a connected AREDN device, and then they're interconnected to that emergency data network. So what I've got in, let me see, I'll show you this here.
They just have like a standard SIP config then or something?
Some groups set up, his question was they use a standard SIP configuration, and some groups have PBX servers. I'm not running one here.
Okay.
So we do direct IP dialing for these.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can connect them to PBX.
Cool.
So this is AREDN. The green lines represent supernode connections, which rely on the internet to tunnel through, but everything else is direct microwave links. You can kind of see why supernodes were created, right? You have kind of mesh islands up here, there, here, there. To interconnect them, we rely on the internet. But within these mesh islands, let's go to my house. Right? So this is, who is this? Oh, that's not one of mine. But he's connected up to Saddleback Mountain where that, the fire was right here in Chico Canyon. Irvine's got a great program up here. Laguna Woods has gear. Laguna Niguel has gear. I run Tri-Cities serving San Juan Capistrano, Dana Point, San Clemente. I've got multiple nodes in San Juan Capistrano. We've got one at their City Hall, one at their Community Center. Dana Point, same thing, Community Center. City Hall, Emergency Operations Center. We've got one on the Doheny Lifeguard Facility that for some reason is not on this map. But it's...
And I'm kind of confused. You were talking about a number of gigahertz, so you talked about ultra high frequency a while ago, but yet you got some long nodes here, or some long reaches that microwave won't reach that far.
Well, here's a 15-mile link on 3.4 gigahertz.
You had some overseas.
Oh yeah, those are anywhere you see a green line. Those are internet-reliant tunnels.
I'm really green colorblind.
Oh, well, then you're going to have trouble here, my friend. I'm so sorry. If you see it traversing state lines and going across the ocean, that's an internet-reliant thing. Also, if you see one in the middle of the ocean, that's somebody who put their GPS coordinates into their node wrong. These nodes don't have GPS. You put it in manually, and some people put it in wrong. So that's the other explanation for that, right? Yeah.
So it's VoIP across long stretches.
Yeah, you can do VoIP phone over multiple hops, over internet and microwave links. Like they're all interconnected. We're not connected to the big mesh here now. I just don't have a link to it. But if we had nodes set up in this area, there's a super node where Mark's at North Colorado, that area. That would interconnect us to this entire network.
So, but you could join your personal hotspot thing you have here to the big network if you wanted to, right?
I could. I'd have to coordinate with this individual. That might be a club, actually. I'm not sure. But I'd have to coordinate with them to tunnels have to be provisioned. It doesn't automatically connect. Right?
Yeah, it's like setting up a VPN or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It actually is a WireGuard VPN connection.
Yeah.
So to get connected to the supernode to a supernode, that's how you have to do it, unless you're near enough to have an RF connection to it, and it has RF connections enabled. This is a HAP AC2, the same device I have right here, that uses, that's a household router. It does not have, it can't support long-range RF, direct RF links, right? But what's great about the Microtech HAP is it's got passive PoE out, which you can connect directly to a dish antenna, and then make those connected devices work over 20 miles.
Now, are you just using like an old dish TV network, like kind of satellite dish, or?
Let me pull up something on that subject, because that's where things get interesting, right? I'm going to pull up the supported devices matrix. This is the list of supported hardware. There's a bunch by Microtech, Ubiquiti, some by TP-Link and GL-INET, and a couple other oddball things there. For what you're talking about, using an old dish thing, I think that's this one here. See what that would be.
Anybody need help with Jimmy John's?
Yeah.
I should have known.
I never got an email.
No, I didn't either.
Ray, I see it in your, he sent you one.
So that's the Microtech LDF, which means like light dish feed. You can remove the feed receiver on like a dish network device
Yep.
and put that up, and that is actually very popular in HOA communities because like federal law requires that they allow you to put a TV antenna on your roof.
Jim Moore,
And if it's just pointed in a different direction, most people won't notice. And you can get away with doing art.
Why is his facing north? Yeah.
It's invisible, right? It's only a person who's looking for it will notice that the feed device is different.
Yep.
Right? So that's one nice device. Ubiquiti nano stations are popular for medium range connections.
So, are some of them using like little Yagis then? Like.
Yeah,
Or-
Yagis are not. Yagis are kind of popular on the 900 megahertz.
Yeah.
But that's not very popular in general.
Okay. That's like Mesh-tastic, right? Versus. Because
Yeah,
Mesh-tastic
that's
is on
900. That's 900,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So what you find for long range point to point, we use dishes.
Okay.
Microtech has a really nice lightweight dish. Ubiquiti has the highest performing, like 30 dB gain. Thing weighs a ton. It's not something you want to schlep around. The Microtech is much more portable, but those can both support really long range links. What else is good? Like the nano stations. Now with those dishes, of course, you've got like a 3-degree beam, right? So you have to be dialed in, pointed at your target, and if it's in a windy place, you've got to make sure you're mounted really securely. So those are used kind of when necessary. In Tri-Cities races, we have those infrastructure nodes that you saw on the map, right? The Dana Point Nature Interpretive Center, where they study a very endangered tiny little mouse, not of really important emergency communications, relevance, but I'm very grateful that that little mouse is there because that's why they have this building, which is at great elevation, and they let me put equipment on it, right? So Dana Point's been a great partner for us. We've got equipment at the Dana Point Nature Interpretive Center, their City Hall and Community Center, and they helped us get equipment up at the Doheny State Beach Lifeguard Facility, which was very important because it gave us a path into a valley that was blocked from seeing our other relays. So,
How does weather affect those links?
not substantially.
Oh, okay.
Some bands are affected, like 60 gigahertz is pretty heavily affected by weather. And somebody in
Yes.
California is using 60 gigahertz as a backhaul between AREDN nodes, but it's not officially AREDN equipment. On the on the bands that we're allowed to use, I'm not aware of whether having any salient impact, really at all.
Not that it rains in Southern California.
Not enough to be a problem. Yeah.
Right.
But
Anyone else need help with Jimmy John?
Yeah.
Okay.
so, let me see, guys, the equipment. Let me go back here to the tools, and I'll show you this one quick. what this allows you to do is basically, let's say, add an access point. You can pick the hardware that you're going to use and model your network accordingly. Like say we were going to use a Rocket M5, then you select your antenna, you get a 90-degree antenna, knock it down to 10 megahertz, which is what we normally do. And then you just stretch it out. You can see where you'll have some coverage, where you won't. This looks like a really challenging area. I don't even know what this is. It's just we're kind of default to. But yeah, I must have found out. Oh, well, look at that. Let's go to
What's your email? Do we need a promo code or is it automatic?
put it up on the hill here.
Ooh, gift card.
Oh, 1 second.
But now you'll see some coverage, I think. A little bit more.
So is that twice by the 28 miles?
I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head here, but it's, I don't see a scale on this map. But if we're somewhere in Pennsylvania. If we go to a place where you guys know, I did briefly try to model up a little bit in the Denver area, but it is a tricky area. You'll need to achieve some decent density unless you can get up on some of these beautiful mountains that I see around us. But here, why don't I sign in? I'll show you an actual implementation of this. So let's see.
Anyone else? JJ? Jimmy Johns? Everybody got Jimmy Johns okay?
Well, here's a model that I put together for the city of San Clemente, which has been more challenging to work with. I've been working on them for years and don't have any equipment installed yet. But this shows what could be done in San Clemente with just a couple facilities set up. Red lines mean no connection. Sometimes I leave them in because they show why I have to, set up other gear to kind of relay around. But like, this is one water tower. This is another. Sometimes I'll model strategic facilities, like that's the San Clemente Pier. This, I believe, is the animal shelter. I'll show you another good one. Oh, this is good.
So are some of these nodes connected with just like home routers and that's the antenna that's on them, or are they all using some sort of directional antenna dish type of thing?
It's a mix of both.
Okay.
This is a rough model of our current mesh infrastructure, and this is not real time, right? This is modeling software we're in. But like what's this here? That's the Nature Interpreter Center. What's this? Oh, that's one of my members, Phil. That's one of my members, Phil, at his house.
Yeah.
Right? So you can put in an address and model at a specific location, and you can set the antenna height, set all the kind of parameters that you need to put together a good model. Look at some other tools. I'll pull this up so you can kind of see what I was talking about. Yep. So these were, if you look up these dates and times, you'll see that these were up. LQ is link quality, 100%. So these were working and working great. what we do, now the connections matter, right? You gotta have the connections to do any work. But the other side of that is what services are available. And and functionally, nearly anything that is done on the internet can be done on the mesh. We're limited only by our imaginations and what we're technically capable of setting up, right? Some more advanced things that I've done that I don't have here with me are a map and routing server. If you, like I'm old enough that I have used maps, but I don't own a map anymore. I don't even know where I'd get a map if I needed a map that wasn't on the computer. So, bearing that in mind, I set about building a map and routing server. Started on a Raspberry Pi and quickly learned that that's not going to be enough. Big drive for the maps. Turns out routing lives in RAM, so big RAM to support large routing models. And it took me a while because I am. Oh, and so that you guys can all know that anybody can do this. My degree is in English literature. Okay, so honest to God, John Milton, I could talk your ear off about Paradise Lost, but that's not what we're here for, right? Anybody can learn this stuff. It's pretty accessible. A lot of things are very well documented. But yeah, building a map and routing server was an interesting experience. Sure, it took me a lot longer than somebody who might be already knew what they were doing. But I got it done, and that works on the mesh. And now you can put in a location, put in another location, it'll give you step-by-step directions and draw nice lines for you. Right? A few things, like everything you see here, like we discussed, we're not connected to the bigger mesh. This device is not connected to the internet. Everything on this is running on a Raspberry Pi.
They have like
So I've got FEMA ICS forms that can be downloaded and filled out. I've got the hazmat and emergency response guide. So, stuff goes wrong. This is where it's good to have a local resource. There are like ready to deploy packages with all of Wikipedia,
yeah, I
for
was gonna say
example.
that, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have that here, but I have that in another kit. And actually, what's not listed here is Nextcloud, which is a really nice. It's like you're having your own personal Google Drive or Dropbox with nice collaboration features. That's what you saw kind of come up as the interface for these. There's a file upload option there where you can basically just create a file Dropbox, which you'd never want to do on the big internet. But since this is for emergency applications and for demonstration purposes, this is not password protected. You can just upload a file. Question?
How are you managing services like DNS?
Every mesh node is a DNS server unless you specifically configure it not to be. That's the default setting.
And you configure like root DNS nodes and
That's all automatic.
It's all peer-to-peer?
Yeah, it's a mesh, right?
Right.
So it's automatic. You can go into the advanced configuration settings and kind of blacklist nodes if they're problematic.
Right.
You can disable connections except for those on a whitelist, for example, if you want to be like very secure with it.
Yeah.
But all that configuration is automatic. Any other questions before I continue? Okay.
And
Okay.
so how do you get added to the DNS is there some sort of...
Is there actually a bind server out there or something like that?
Well, it's on every node, you said.
Yeah, there's not like a central, like the big internet, there's a handful, I love that you asked this question. Right? The big internet has like a handful of big DNS servers,
Yeah.
and if they were to go down, entire regions would not be able to use the internet.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild how that like hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But
well, they propagate to others with
yeah,
TTLs
and
everything.
everyone's got like locally stored DNS, like your ISP's got local DNS, but
So if I want to add my DNS name, I just add it on my local node and it propagates everywhere? Is that how it works?
it's even simple. I think it's even simpler than that, right? Now that's very complicated if you know what you're doing. The mesh and the internet, they're separate unless you like actively interconnect them, right?
Right.
So you can't your, like these URLs end in .local.mesh. If you are not connected to a mesh node and using it as your DNS server, you will not get to those sites,
Right.
right?
Right.
Unless you are, use an IP address and are connected, right?
Okay.
Oh, wow, time flies here, okay. Let me go back down. Team Talk. Team Talk is neat. We do prioritize services that are browser-based because if you can't use the internet, you might not be able to download software, right? I do have a little software downloads folder with Team Talk and some other useful things available, but these are not the latest versions.
What is Team Talk?
Team Talk is basically a free alternative to Zoom or Microsoft Teams. It's been wildly bandwidth efficient. We've had like 60 people on a call with video and not been able to break it. So works great on the mesh. If you were to download Team Talk, you could connect to the server running on this Raspberry Pi, and we could, instead of using Zoom, we could be doing this on Team Talk on the mesh. So on those tables, there are VoIP phones. If anybody wants to, I'm going to leave them set up. I'm going to be here for the whole show and even a little bit after. See me if you have questions, but this is kind of what we do on AREDN. The main idea of it, besides it just being fun to have like our own ham radio internet to experiment with and collaborate on, is that if the internet were to be unavailable or for security reasons, use of it untenable, having digital services and a network in place that can allow strategically important entities to continue to operate somewhere near the efficiency that they currently do is critically important. You don't want your medical facilities during an emergency dropping down to pen and paper and runners on bicycles, right? With this, you can share an Excel file with, who's here, what do they need, prescription list. You want to try to spell a chemical prescription name phonetically? It's going to take you 5 minutes to do one drug. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. With this, in seconds, it's transferred with perfect accuracy. So it's, I don't know of situations where it's really been utilized to tremendous effect in an emergency, but we do use it to support public events. In my area, we set up about a dozen cameras. We're deploying for the first time this year semantic search, which is AI-enhanced search by description in cameras, which would be kind of neat. We don't do it all the time, but we have successfully interconnected with the Orange County Sheriff's Tactical Operations Center, which gives them access to our camera feeds. But again, we don't need them to operate.
Now, when you're talking about medications and things, what about HIPAA considerations?
HIPAA applies to healthcare professionals and pharmacists.
Yep.
It doesn't apply to us necessarily.
Well,
It would be on them. This is a great question, right? A lot of data, and we can't encrypt, right? We're not allowed to.
that's where I'm going.
And this is a kind of it's a closely related subject, right? So I'm glad you brought it up. I do not recommend you guys store sensitive or critical information on AREDN accessible devices. This is for transportation, right? Like the hard drive on this Pi, it is temporary storage of a thing that is to be transferred. So, for example, if we had those prescription lists with names, and it can be like a patient ID number or something. It doesn't have to be a person's individual name if that's perhaps a concern, which it is. But the other receiving side has to know what that means too, right? Well, the way I have, if we have had that sort of situation, what I would do, my procedures are transfer the data and then move it to an encrypted drive, and even that just temporarily until you confirm the other side's got it and they're retaining it according to their procedures, and then you delete it, right?
Yeah, because we had that problem doing some things for ARES on packet.
Mm-hmm.
And we had two hospitals set up, and it was test data, it was an exercise, not an actual emergency. And all the doctors stepped in and said, we're done, because all of this violates HIPAA. So we continue to support that, because in a real emergency, I'll tell you what,
The right priorities change.
that they will
Right.
change.
Yeah.
But I just was curious whether that had a,
Yeah, all I can say is, like, it doesn't apply, like, to us as the communicators, right? It applies to them, right? If they share it with us, they're concerned of sharing it with us, right? And that's kind of on them. But like I said, in an emergency, if the information needs to get from point A to point B, and at the same time, you'd probably get away with encrypting some stuff if you needed to send it in an emergency too,
Yeah,
right?
that's
You kind of do what you've got to do.
right.
One guy, Cameron, I forget his call sign right now. He put together a really interesting thing that Mark, I'll send you a link to it if you want to share it later. You can. But basically, he's got details on how to decrypt HTTPS traffic when you have both the public and private key, and those keys are shared, like on a website, on the mesh, and that allows him to. Well, basically, it removes any idea that he is encrypting with the intention of concealing the content of the message, right? Which is an element of the rule. So
So he can encrypt the message, but because he's providing the keys, anyone who
any
receives
interested
that
person
message
could decrypt it.
decrypt it.
Yeah. And when you think about it, that's how all digital modes kind of are,
Yeah.
right? They're all modulated. Modulation. The difference between modulation and encryption is the intent, I guess, right? So. Okay. Any other questions about AREDN or applications, related topics?
Quick question, what would be a price range if a club wanted to set up something like this?
Great question. So the Microtech app that I've got over here, it's a great workhorse node. It doesn't do everything, but it does enough. You'll want one of those. They run about $50, $60. The new HAP AC3 is a little higher spec. That I think is like $90 or $100. The Ubiquiti nano stations, which are great. Oh, I didn't talk about nano stations. All our portable kits, camera kits, whatever, they've all got nano stations. They're pretty nice power. They got 45-degree sectors, which means you point it in generally the right direction and you'll connect. They're really nice devices for portable and like local use. Those guys are another like $80, $90. The Ubiquiti Rocket M5s, those things are like 10, 20 bucks on eBay if you can get them used. They're so cheap right now. That's just a radio. You got to connect that to an antenna, but that's where your, nice 90 or 120 degree, 18 to 21 decibels of gain sectors come in. You hook those up to Ubiquiti Rockets. You have a question?
Yes, to the AC radios from Ubiquiti were only the M club, the M M5s.
Some you have to check the supported equipment roster. There are several AC devices that are supported.
Also, what about the nano grid?
Let's see. There's your nano stations, power beams, rockets, AirGrid. Yeah, AirGrid's on here. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, it's a nano grid. It's a little grid.
Nano grid. I got nano bridge. I don't see nano grid. Nano station, nano beam. Maybe not. But they do occasionally add things to this list. So if it's got the supported chipset, it's relatively straightforward to build AREDN for it. And you can put AREDN on a non-supported device, but you will not have access to the amateur radio exclusive channels and the non-standard channel with features that we regularly depend on. So, just something to think about. Any other questions on AREDN?
Looks like you have a title there, sunset devices, so everything below that looks like it's being sunset.
Yes, but the sunset just means that it won't take firmware that's developed next year and going forward.
Right, so you want
It'll-
to do something above that.
Yeah, I wouldn't, I was talking to a fellow back there about that, and thanks for bringing that up, that's important. As OpenWRT changes, Arden kind of has to change alongside it.
Yeah.
So as it's grown, some devices aren't really ideal for it anymore. It still works. If you have it, keep it. If you're using it, keep using it. I would, if you're thinking about buying it, just know its limitation, right? You're going to be running off the current latest firmware, which is very good, works great, and it'll probably be more than enough for years to come. Yeah.
So these are remote places where the radios are running, and your local place is pointing at it, like to a mountaintop, whatever, up there.
So some are pointed up to those, others are
Yeah.
pointed to other facilities
Sure.
that have a reachable link.
I guess. I'm trying to think of what I was gonna say
You
now.
want to back up power?
Yeah. So what are they like? They can run on just little, like LiFePO battery or something up there with a solar panel. And
Yeah,
there's nothing.
the Saddleback Mountain has solar panels and batteries, and that's,
Okay.
that,
They don't need main power then to run
Nope.
up there. They just run off the
The-
solar panel.
these can run off batteries very easily. A lot of the Microtech devices especially have, and Ubiquity devices have nice broad input ranges, like from 10 to 28 volts. So it'll take your car battery, it'll take any inverter. They're easy to power. One thing I've been doing a lot that I like is I get these USB-C trigger modules, keep them 20 volts.
Yep.
I run a bunch of devices off USB-C. That'll give you up to 100 watts, and that number keeps going up too. So they're easy to power. Any other questions?
In Lakewood here, we have a siren network that is going defunct this year. They're turning them off. The local club was involved with going out there every year and testing them. And that's the only time I ever heard them go off was when the club is testing them and they're talking on the repeater to say this one works. This one's got a solar panel connected. This one's got voltage. And I've been trying to come up with an idea of putting up a mesh network of some sort on these
That's a great.
siren towers because
Yeah.
the towers are all still there.
Yes,
And they all have solar panel on them. So
absolutely do it. Irvine did that. We're trying to do some of that with the old San No Free sirens.
okay,
So yeah, absolutely do that. Model it up in that Ubiquity tool.
sure.
Identify the equipment you need, and put a proposal together. And I'm happy to help you with that.
Okay.
I'll give you a card.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? All righty. Well, thank you. And if you guys want to, if you want to, don't be calling the phones during other people's presentations, but after or during breaks, if you want to grab one of the phones and call somebody at one of these other tables, I'm sure they'll play along and answer it, and you can see how Arden works firsthand.
All right, that's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would love to start building an Arden network here in the Denver area. You know, we can all put one on our roofs and add to our antenna collection, right? That'd be really cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Sure, our XYLs will love that. Anyway, thank you, Bill.
That's why they're X.
That was awesome. Stop sharing here.